Jake is standing in his parents' driveway. His car door already open. He is about to leave. Behind him in the garage, his family is gathered around his father, who is lying on the ground under the same car that has been breaking down for 6 years. Nobody in that garage knows that Jake's net worth crossed $1 million 3 weeks ago. And Jake has not told them. Not because he is ashamed, but because he is terrified of what happens to this exact scene the moment they find out. This is the story of what really happens when you become the first millionaire in your family. And it is not the celebration that most people imagine. It started 17 years ago. Jake's family was not poor in a dramatic way. They were poor in the ordinary way that most American families experience it. His father worked 2 jobs and fixed his own cars because the mechanic was a luxury they could not afford. His mother clipped coupons and stretched ground beef into 3 different meals. Money in Jake's house was never discussed directly. It was felt in the silence before the electric bill arrived, in the careful math at the grocery store, in the way his parents flinched slightly whenever something unexpected broke. Jake decided at 22 that he would be different, not because he resented his family, he loved his family, but because he had watched financial stress age his parents in ways that felt unfair, and he wanted out of that cycle for himself and eventually for them. He started small, an index fund, a side business that grew slowly over a decade, a rental property that he bought with money his family did not know he had saved. And for 15 years, Jake lived a quiet double life. At family dinners, he talked about his job the way he always had. At family gatherings, he wore the same clothes he had always worn. And underneath all of it, his net worth grew, silently, compounding in accounts that nobody in his family knew existed. 3 weeks ago, Jake's investment portfolio, his rental properties, his small business equity, crossed $1 million combined. And Jake sat in his car in a parking lot and did not feel what he expected to feel. He expected triumph. He felt fear, because Jake had spent 17 years watching how money changes the way people see each other. And he understood something that nobody had warned him about when he started this journey. Becoming the first millionaire in your family does not just change your bank account. It changes every single relationship you have. It changes them in ways you cannot predict, and in ways you cannot undo. Here's what Jake is afraid of. And here's what actually happens when families find out. Reaction 1, the request. The moment Jake's family discovers his wealth, someone will need something. Not because they are bad people, but because financial need does not disappear just because one family member solved it for themselves. His younger cousin needs help with the down payment. His uncle has a business idea that just needs a little capital. His sister's car needs work that costs more than the car is worth. And every single request will arrive wrapped in love and family obligation. And every single request will force Jake to make a decision that has no good answer. Say yes and risk becoming the family bank, an endless resource that everyone assumes is permanently available. Say no and risk becoming the family member who has everything and still will not help. There is no decision in this category that does not cost Jake something. Reaction 2, the distance. Here is the part that almost nobody talks about honestly. Money does not just create requests, it creates silence. Jake's father, the man lying under the car in the garage right now, has spent his entire life believing that fixing your own car, stretching every dollar, working 2 jobs, is what a responsible man does. And Jake's wealth, discovered suddenly, will not feel like a celebration of his son's success to that father. It will feel like a quiet referendum on everything he built his identity around. If Jake can have $1 million by 39, why did his father spend 40 years working himself into the ground for so much less? That question will never be asked directly, but it will live underneath every conversation Jake and his father have for the rest of their relationship. Reaction 3, the performance. Some family members will not ask for anything and will not withdraw into silence. They will do something more complicated. They will perform comfort with Jake's wealth that they do not actually feel. They will say things like, "That is so great for you. We are so proud," while privately recalculating every interaction through a lens that did not exist before. Was that compliment genuine or was it positioning? Is this invitation about connection or about access? The performance of comfort is exhausting for everyone involved because it requires constant management of feelings that nobody is allowed to name directly. Reaction 4, the genuine joy. Here's what Jake does not expect, and what actually surprises him most when the truth eventually comes out. Some people in his family will feel genuine, uncomplicated joy. His mother, who clipped those coupons for decades, will cry not because she wants anything from Jake, but because somewhere in her chest is the specific relief of knowing that her son will never feel the fear she felt every time something unexpected broke. That joy is real, and it is the thing that almost makes the other 3 reactions bearable. Reaction 5, the quiet rupture. And here is the hardest truth in this entire story. Some relationships do not survive the discovery. Not dramatically, not with a fight, but quietly. A sibling who stops calling as often. A cousin who becomes distant in ways that are never explained. Not out of malice, but because proximity to wealth that is not your own creates a discomfort that some people manage by simply creating distance. Here's what Jake decided to do. Standing in that driveway, 3 weeks after crossing $1 million, he decided that he was going to tell his family the truth. Not all at once, not with an announcement, but honestly, starting with his mother. Because Jake understood something important about the fear he had been carrying. The fear of how his family would react was itself a kind of dishonesty. It assumed the worst about people who had loved him his entire life. And that assumption, however protective it felt, was not fair to them. Here is the truth about being the first millionaire in your family. It does not just test your financial discipline. It tests every relationship you have ever built. It reveals who loves you for who you are, and who loved the version of you that needed the same things they needed. It creates joy and resentment in the same room, sometimes in the same person. And there is no version of this journey that lets you keep every relationship exactly as it was before the money arrived. You have been decoded. If this video made you think about money and family differently, subscribe to Money Decoder 3004. Every single week, we decode the financial and emotional realities that most Americans navigate without anyone preparing them for it. Simply, honestly, and clearly, drop a comment below. If you became the first wealthy person in your family, how do you think your family would actually react? Tell me honestly. I read every single comment, and I will see you in the next decode.